into the greatest story in sports and the greatest rivalry and finish in sports.
Look at that shot.
And the greatest call in sports. If you say so. The NBA giving all of us the big squadoosh. Let's go around the horn.
Why did you show that guy?
I do, Tony. I do.
Thank you. Well, at least somebody.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reale.
6 straight double-digit blowouts in these conference finals. Is that bad? It's not good.
No.
Average margin was 24. 41 points last night. Let's talk about the Warriors and Rockets. Curry giving Golden State nothing, them giving Golden State everything, which is important, but only secondary to Houston not giving Houston anything. 23 missed threes last night. 19 missed layups or dunks. Bill Plaschke, will start with you. Was last night what Golden State did or what Houston absolutely did not do?
Yeah, I disagree with your intro, Tony. It wasn't about what Houston absolutely did not do. It was about what Steph Curry did. He got off. We all said when he would get off, the Warriors would get off. 26 points in the second half, second most for him in the playoff history. And the Warriors helped him get off with the pick and rolls to Draymond Green. They ran 13 with those two after running only 11 games 1 and 2. He was 8 of 9 at the rim. So Curry wasn't doing it just from three-point land. He was doing it inside in the restricted area. And defensively, they all helped him out. James Harden was fouled just once on 17 drives. Harden was stopped again, but it all started with Curry coming back to being Steph Curry again.
That how you saw it, Israel Gutierrez?
It does start with Steph Curry. I mean, listen, if any team opposes the Golden State Warriors and you say Steph Curry and KD are both going to play really well, who are you going to pick to beat them? Now, I understand you probably shouldn't lose by 40 in the conference finals, but the Rockets are not going to win that game. Now, when you compile that with what they didn't do, and as Bill mentioned, James Harden, it seems to get he seems to get easier to defend as the series will go along. He had that big scoring game 1, but if you look at it, maybe his team or maybe Steve Kerr's players are finally listening when he says, "Hey, don't reach, don't send them to the foul line." They only shot 1 free throw for the entire second half. The Rockets did. So yes, the Rockets were off of their game some, but really, when the Warriors play like that, what are you going to do?
Frank Isola, what was the story last night?
Well, Chris Paul certainly needs to be better, but this was all about Steph Curry. He had scored 34 points combined in games 1 and 2, and he spent the last 3 days, everybody talk about, has he lost it? Is he not as good as he once was? It's all about Kevin Durant. He comes out and scores 35 points. That's the most that he's had in a game since February 22nd when he put up 44 against Bill Plaschke's L.A. Clippers. That's the difference.
Okay.
Durant
that was totally
and Steph Curry had 60 points. The entire starting 5 of the Houston Rockets, 58 points. True. You're never winning like that.
No one's disputing that Curry had his first game of these playoffs and the first big game he had since, who was it? Oh, the L.A. Clippers, that's right. But Golden State was up double digits in the first half when Curry was still continuing his struggle and the lag from the first 2 games. Let me ask you, Jackie Mack, what was the storyline of last night?
Well, in the first half, when the game, in my opinion, was won, you're absolutely right. It was what the Houston Rockets didn't do while Steph Curry was still struggling. Think about it. If the Rockets had been able to put the pedal to the metal there and maybe change the way this game went in the first half, maybe Golden State can't wait for Steph Curry to come around and keep running those pick and rolls. 81.7, that was their offensive rating. That's their worst all year. What a time to have your worst offensive rating when your team's season is on the line.
What is that about, do you think, Jackie? Israel was talking about Harden and how later on in the series his numbers have historically dropped. What is that about?
Well, I think it's got a lot to do with Draymond Green. I really. And, you know, he doesn't get enough credit. He never does. In this game, we talk about Steph Curry, and I get that, but it was all about, to me, Kevin Durant, who held down the fort early, and looks to me like he can score whenever he wants on one end, and then Draymond Green mucking it up for Houston and stopping them, depending on who you're talking about. He can stop Harden. He can stop Chris Paul. He can really stop anybody at any time, and he
can stop himself sometimes as well.
Yes, he
Israel,
can, but he
when
didn't
you
do
think
that
about
in
Harden
this game.
And why those numbers plummet, sometimes fall off a cliff, like games 3, games 4, games 5 of a series.
Some people want to say it's conditioning. Maybe he's not ready for this type of responsibility late in the postseason. But I think it's more of, hey, it's an adjustment to how you play against him. He's very frustrating to play against in the regular season with a little bit of time to prepare. And, you know, it's moving really fast, and you want to reach, and you want to send him to the foul line. And look at his free throw shooting numbers. They're not as high in the postseason as they are in the regular season. I will say this, Jackie, when it comes to Steph in that first half, yes, he didn't shoot the ball well, but the Warriors looked more like themselves, really moving the ball, getting those shots for other guys and not relying on KD that much, all of a sudden the second half he gets hot, they look like the dominant team, the dynasty that Tony doesn't want me to say is going to win the next 3 championships.
I think you could say it, but you can't. I mean, you guys have been saying that before even Game 1 starts, and then after, before Game 2 starts. Just allow a series to be is all I'm trying to say. We don't need to predict what's going to happen in the next 3 games, 4 games. We just need to review what happened there. So you guys, you don't have to, blame Steph's bad starts in Game 1 and Game 2 on his injury anymore, because now he's had a good game, right? It's amazing. But he's struggling. It's already because he's hurt. When he plays well, it's because, his health is great. And then he gets to say, this is my house. And need to have his mouth washed out with soap afterward. Anybody think he went too far with the celebration?
No, after all they put him through, they hunted him, they targeted him.
All right.
Houston made a
because
foul
at one point, Houston was inbounding the ball and towards midcourt, and he's still on the baseline screaming, All right, fine.
That's okay.
We'll move on.
Well, someone that had their mouth washed out with soap.
Boston-Cleveland, Game 4 in a few hours. Game 3 was electric peekaboo. The only drama was whether LeBron was going to see his daughter in the crowd. Celtics say they needed a butt-whooping like that. Cavs say they can't be satisfied with 1 win. Jackie, we'll start with you. Who do you think Saturday night galvanizes more? Cavs because they finally look good, or the Celtics because they looked so bad?
Well, I guess I've been around the Celtics too much. I've seen them look that bad. They've done it all year long. I wasn't even surprised that this happened, believe it or not, because when they don't shoot well, they can look like the worst team in the league. If I'm the Cavs, I am galvanized, not only because we scored more if I'm the Cavs, but most importantly, what they did defensively, which I wasn't sure they were able to do. Do you know that LeBron James, when he was guarding players, he gave up .36 points per play? That's an incredible number. LeBron James, he brings it every night offensively.
What went wrong with Boston's offense? Okay, LeBron, the best defender on the floor, I can understand that. But what went wrong with Boston's offense?
Well, they did 2 really smart things. They put a tremendous amount of pressure on Jaylen Brown and forced him into hurried shots. And they took Al Horford out of the mix. And when they do that, it's like their whole thing has to be a well-oiled machine. Everything has to go just right. And everything has to go through Al Horford. And they made that impossible. They did a very good job there.
Lashke, you have a view of it?
These are young players who are this is galvanized as Boston. They're young players who got punched in the mouth for the first time. I think this is the worst loss of the season. Everybody talks about, they're always bad on the road in the playoffs. They had a better road record than a home record during the regular season. They were the best team on the road in the playoffs during the regular season. So they can do this. They have to rebound better. They got to rebound it. And their uncontested shots, probably 10 fewer, I think, normally than their average uncontested shots, because they're not getting to their spots. They're not scheming. This is all mental. This is all effort. This will
But you think this will be a good thing for them?
Yes, absolutely.
Israel, you agree with that?
I do. I think, look, in Game 1 of this series, it seemed like LeBron was just trying to feel his way through and see what he can do against his team. In Game 2, offensively, he did whatever he wanted against this team, and it still wasn't enough. And I think what they learned here in Game 3, that, their defense is their offense, rather, is their identity, but they need to play some sort of defense. They need to match the energy of that youthful Celtics team, and at the very least, win their home games, and then really rely on LeBron for one of those, whether it be Game 5 or Game 7 in Boston. And I think he figured that out. Not only do they have to play faster so that he can get guys more shots, but they have to play physical, and they have to play sort of with a craze about them defensively to really match what the Celtics do.
And Isola?
LeBron was outstanding. He had 27 points on 12 shots. He also had 12 assists. So he galvanizes everyone. They shoot 17 of 34 on threes. The Cavaliers are not going to lose with LeBron and his teammates making 17 of 34. Bill, you talked about the Boston Celtics, as a young group, this will help them. They're 1-5 on the road in the playoffs, and I get it. They have home court advantage here, but they look like an immature team. In the first quarter of that game, they were coming down, jacking up shots early in the shot clock, not making the extra pass. They did not look like the Boston Celtic team that we saw in games 1 and 2.
Tonight, once again, the Celtics are on the road, Jackie Mack. I'm not even asking for a pick. I'm asking, will this game be over or under double digits at some point? Because we haven't even had a close game in these playoffs.
Right. Yeah. I think it will be, because the one thing about the Cavaliers is they have a good game like this, and then they come to them and they go, oh, yeah, we're back. And then they forget everything that got them there in the first place.
Plasky?
No, they're a smart team, a smart coach. Boston comes back tonight.
Gutierrez?
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland rolls even beyond this game and kind of takes this series. I think they might have figured something out.
Isola.
Oh, wow.
I kind of agree with Jackie. I think we're finally going to get a close game. Can it at least be a one-possession game in the last 5 minutes? Give us a game for once. That's all we're asking.
Israel, at any point when you said, I think they figured something out, and Plasky was surprised, did that scare you off making a prediction that the Cavaliers were going to take this series?
Plasky's never felt more comfortable with my pick. Never felt.
Wow. Is it over? Izzy, is it over? Is it over, Izzy? Are you saying it's over?
I don't do the Plasky. I don't do the Plasky.
That is smart.
So
no one ever
I'm a
goes
bird
full
now.
Plashki
Okay,
and lives to tell the tale. We'll move on. Vegas into the Stanley Cup final.
The
greatest story in hockey, greatest story in sports, and here come the it's not as good as this, not as good as thaters. Because you can't, exist without that. And also those that wonder if this is in some way embarrassing for the league. Greg Wyshynski wrote, I weep for the cynical. I think this is an embarrassment for hockey and not incredibly awesome for the sport. I'll start with you there, Frank Isola. You can wonder if this is good for the sport or what it tells you about the sport or if it's possibly an embarrassment for the sport.
It's not an embarrassment. Oh, by the way, can we give Bob Bradley and the Chicago Fire a little bit of credit? 1998, they won the MLS Cup, first year in existence. I mean, come on.
Oh, stop it.
Here's the thing about hockey.
Wait a second. Why is that not allowed? Why is MLS?
Team.
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead with your little soccer thing.
Hang on.
I'm sorry. Here we go, Jackie Mack.
When the season started, I think a lot of us felt it would be Cleveland, Boston, Houston, Golden State in the Final Four. No one was picking these four teams that made it. That's the one thing about hockey. There is a randomness to it. George McPhee, the GM of Vegas, did a great job selecting the players, including Marc-Andre Fleury. That had a lot to do with it. And in hockey, your star only plays 1/3 of the game. When you watch Ovechkin play, he's playing 18, 19 minutes. So stories like this are possible in every sport except for the NBA.
Israel Gutierrez?
Well, what are we looking for here to say? By the way, I'm very disappointed that Frank didn't come out of the box saying this was an embarrassment, like just urinating, I guess, if you will, on the NHL. But listen,
never going to do that.
I don't really understand where the negative comes from. Like, what are you looking for? Are you mad at the expansion draft, at that system? Because they're clearly not faking their way through the postseason. This is a very good team. The storyline's great. What it does for the fan base in the first year, you just embrace that team and you fall in love with that team. And Marc-Andre Fleury sort of being the star of this, and it's an easy sort of thing to catch on to, the hot goalie riding. He's got three cups already. It's just an impossible story not to like.
Bill Plashki.
Well, I like the story. It's very sweet, but I feel a little uncomfortable. I gotta admit, this is not the Chicago. This is not the Chicago Cubs. This is not Buster Douglas. This is not a team that's been toiling. This is not Leicester City. It's not a team that's been toiling around for years and years and years. This is only they don't got.
It's not. It's a team that didn't exist.
Didn't exist. So what does that say about a sport when a team that doesn't exist, a year ago, can come together and win a sports championship? It's weird. I'm sorry. It's just weird. It says something about the sport. I'm sorry.
All right, Jackie Mack, I held that as long as I could before going back to it.
I know, you really didn't want me on the show anymore. It's okay. I forgive you. I understand. Listen, the only people that should feel bad about this are the Florida Panthers, because they're the one that let the coach go that's running the Golden State, and two of their best players on the team. So they're the ones that should be feeling bad. Everybody else, we knew about Fleury. Oh, come on. You can do better than that, Tony. Everybody knew about Fleury. Everybody knew he was going to be let go in the expansion draft. He's had months to prepare for this. So to your point, Frank, when your stars can only be on the ice 1/3 of the time, not true when it's your goalie. He's on the ice 100% of the time, and he's been the difference, and they can maybe ride him all the way to this.
Last word, Frank.
By the way, Carolina, Jacksonville made the championship games their second year in the NFL, and I wonder if we would feel differently about this story if it was an expansion team in Cleveland, Milwaukee, or Indianapolis. You just wonder, because it's Vegas. People look at, that's not really a city. It's a vacation
destination. They've ever had a professional team, and then after the tragedy in Vegas,
I think it'd be different.
That's what, this whole season.
I agree. I'm just saying, I think
it's weird.
Vegas, which is
but it's weird. It's just weird.
Why is it weird? About Isola 20 points. And Jackie Mack struggling to stay in the show after her anti-soccer spiel. Taking a break right here. Buy or sell next.
Know your audience, Jackie.
Know your host, Jackie.
No, it's not a big deal. We'll move on. Tampa, Washington, buy or sell. How Tampa has done this and how Washington has done this. From 2-0 lead to now down 3-2 and going home, which contrary to all reason is not a good thing historically. Bill Plashki, what do the Capitals have to do tonight to avoid being the Capitals?
Braden Holtby has to stop shots. 93% save percentage his first 12 playoff games. 84% the last 3 playoff starts. He needs to stop shots. That's it.
It's as simple as that.
Because they've outplayed him. They've outplayed him in every game. In all one game.
They need to be this year's version of the Capitals. They need to embrace the tough time. They haven't lost 4 straight games all year, so they're not going to lose this one. They're going to come back and win this series because Caps Knights is the Stanley Cup Finals we all need to see.
is he says it's over.
Israel Gutierrez, you are embracing your inner we just said once you go full Plaschke, you never go back. I still, how about you?
Good luck.
Yeah, first elimination game in the postseason for the Capitals. First of all, you can't give up silly penalties because Tampa Bay's power play is outstanding. And Ovechkin, here's the thing. He's been very good. He has 11 goals in the playoffs thus far. So it's like their star's been playing well. But Holtby, the goaltender, he's got to be a lot better. A lot better.
Jackie Mack?
Okay, but Frank, did you see the last game? Because Ovechkin was shut out through 2 periods. He could barely get any shots off.
Got one.
If I'm the Capitals, I'm going to score first. The team that scores first has won every game in this series, and it's not just a silly little stat because it changes the style of play. You have to become more aggressive if you're behind in this game. And am I talking into the wind, or I guess I am?
He's not even listening to her.
I was still on your anti-soccer spiel. I mean, I just don't understand you anymore.
All out.
We're going to move on. Buy or sell two. The Rays starting Sergio Romo. 588 career appearances, 0 career starts. Back-to-back days this weekend, having worked 1 inning and 1 1/3 inning. Buy or sell, starting a reliever, providing a schematic advantage, Israel.
I'm buying it. He's getting 3 difficult outs. The first 3 batters of the game, top of the lineup. That makes perfect sense. It's different baseball strategy, but it's good baseball strategy. It drives me nuts that Zach Kozart's saying it's bad for baseball, as if all fans want to say, no, I only want to see my closer come in the 8th or 9th inning and no earlier. It's ridiculous. It's not bad for baseball. It's confusing.
Yeah, sure, it's a gimmick. I don't think you can use it all the time, but he did strike out 6 batters in the 2 innings that he pitched over 2 days. So guess what? That gimmick, it worked.
Jackie Mack.
So the shift, Frank, started out as a gimmick. The three-point chart started out as a gimmick in the old WABA. I'm sure there's an analogy that was a gimmick for soccer. I just can't remember what it is right this minute. Maybe you get penalty kicks in the extra frame or whatever. So I think it's here to stay, and you'll see other teams use it. That's how these things start out, as a gimmick.
Lefty.
It's a great idea because analytics will show you that through the order, the third time that batters see a pitcher, their OPS is 100 points more than the first time he sees a pitcher. So you want your starting pitcher to be able to take the game deeper. Therefore, start him later and have the reliever start earlier. It's perfect. It's a great idea. Except for aces, then it's used a lot more.
Yeah, no. A better idea is to have Max Scherzer on your team. Yeah. Or to have the Astros starting rotation this year. That's a better idea.
Yeah.
Plaschke, you're getting a bolt right here. Jackie Mack, relegation for you as well. Gutierrez, Isola. Go down next.
Chicken or...
I've
been on that infield.
Fogging Preakness. What was more impressive, Justify winning or announcer Larry Palmer's being able to see through the fog to nail the call, Israel Gutierrez?
I mean, I've seen plenty of horses win the first 2 legs of a triple crown. What was impressive was being able to see through that fog and call that. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, to be honest. I don't watch a lot of horse racing, though.
Oh, stop. He knew Justify was in front the whole way with good magic. Good magic.
Did he?
Fell apart at the end, so Justify's got the chance to win the Triple Crown. By the way, the most impressive thing, I've been on that infield as a college student. I had a little trouble walking out on my own after the race, but I've been there.
That's not impressive at all.
Done. I've been at an event. That's a big thing.
Showdown 2, 104.2, 105, 104.3, 105, 103.7 miles per hour. That's what StatCast was tracking Jordan Hicks. Too fast or just fast enough, Frank?
No. Just fast enough. And the first one being outside, when you're a batter, you're going to step in the batter's box. That's the thing about having a lot of guts as a Major League Baseball player. It's one thing for it to be coming 105. If you don't know if it's going to be right over the plate, that's a little scary. Pretty good, 105.
It's crazy impressive. But you know where it would have been more helpful, perhaps? Maybe in the first inning, rather than in a 4-run game in the 9th inning, where you need to throw that heat. So maybe we should revisit that whole idea, huh? Bring in these 105-mile-per-hour heaters.
So you want Hicks starting for the Cardinals? Very, very interesting.
For an inning, yes.
They finally got a close.
First inning starter.
Let him start every game. All right, Israel, here, since you tried combining stories, we'll move on. Johnny Manziel, Hamilton, Tiger Cat. He says it's not just a pit stop for him. Izzy, what happens?
Listen, I think he ends up staying in the CFL. I think he can make a career for himself there. Wider field, obviously still has some quickness, still has some ability, but maybe not NFL level. I think he should totally embrace this idea like he is, apparently.
It sounds like he's got a good chance to be successful. The key is, how will he be off the field? And I think we all hope that Johnny Manziel, a very exciting player, former Heisman Trophy winner, has his act together off the field. That's what's more important.
Israel Gutierrez, 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Well, we just learned that the French Open will not have a seeded Serena Williams because her WTA ranking after she left for maternity leave dropped from number 1 when she left to number 453, and they're respecting those rankings. Well, that's probably going to change in 2019, which is another thing that we can credit the Williams sisters to for changing the game, and maybe they will have protected rankings for players who leave for maternity leave. But really, I've never been more certain that Serena Williams is going to win a major, going in unranked, and man, do I feel sorry for her first or second round opponent if it's, I don't know, a top 5 seeded player, and they've got an angry Serena Williams right in front of them, who now says she's ready after coming back a little bit too soon from maternity leave. Man, congratulations, Serena Williams, French Open champion 2018.
Is he saying
pulling that over as well?
It's over.
He's on fire today, man.
Wow.
Look how proving Billy. Yeah, you would be. 23.5 hour break. We'll see you tomorrow.